we'll tell you more about our story later on as we go through some of our discussions. But tonight we want to talk about the bedroom. We're coming to you live from
Mm,
our bedroom.
yes, this is
This
our
is you know
safe place,
yeah,
our
our sanctuary.
sanctuary.
Yeah. So yeah, we basically wanted to remind you guys of how important this area is and how vital it is to a successful marriage. You got to have a place in your marriage where life just kind of stops, where you put up a boundary where life stops and it's just you and your spouse, it's you and your loved one, your significant other, focusing on one another and being with one another and getting connected. And so we can't let life just kind of come in and just take over your marriage. You have to put some boundaries up, and your bedroom is a very key place where all that stuff happens, right?
Definitely. And the way I think about it, kind of the analogy is, most of us don't have the ability to take a jet to a private island, or, oh, I'm just going to go off for Paris for, the day and come back. So we don't have that luxury, but we all need a break sometimes, a break from the noise, a break from the monotony, a break from our job, our kids. And what you need to do is to create that environment in your home. And the bedroom is the place to do that. Creating an oasis, creating a place to that you can go, you can close that door. When you close that door, this is your paradise, this is your sanctuary, this is your oasis, this is where you can get away from all of that, even if it's only for a couple of hours, and get refreshed and get rejuvenated to be able to face whatever you're facing.
Yeah, because life just kind of happens, and life happens for all of us. You go to work for 40+ hours a week. Some of you may be stay-at-home moms, but in most cases, both people are working. Husband and wife are working, and you see each other for a few hours in the evening. But if you have kids, guess what? You drop them off at practice. You're trying to fix dinner. Life is just kind of running crazy, and so when you look up, it's 11, 12 o'clock at midnight or whatever, and you guys looking at each other and just ready to pass out, and you never really get a chance to connect. So it's important to try to safeguard the few hours that you have, and that is done in the bedroom, making sure this is saying we're not talking just sex talk. We're gonna get to that, but that's not everything.
Right.
It's about connecting emotionally and hearing where one another might be. Even just understanding where everybody's head is at and where their emotions are as well. But just knowing the whole person, you want to have some time to do that. So, what's missing in your bedroom? That was kind of the question we posed, to everybody earlier.
Did you
At our
guys take a
picture.
look at the picture? Anybody have any comments? I know there were some people that commented. How many of you guys actually saw the picture, and what did you think was missing out of the bedroom?
I know people mention stuff like what
TV
TV
was
was a
several
popular
different
one.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was up there.
there was pictures.
Curtains. I remember somebody put curtains. That was pretty good. That was B Dunk. I don't know if he joined or not, but B Dunk mentioned curtains, which was key. That's important. You gotta have some privacy. It's your sanctuary, it ain't everybody's sanctuary, so you gotta have some privacy. So the curtains was definitely one, but it's not really the one that we were focusing on. The curtains wasn't, but
But there was someone else that had said shoes, socks laying on the floor. I was like,
yeah,
okay, you've been married for a while. You know the
right,
deal that that room was a little bit too clean.
yeah.
I'll speak for me. It's a little bit too clean for our house.
Yeah, and a little bit about our background too. We've been married for 13 years. We didn't throw
Yes.
that out there up front. We've been married for 13 years, so we're by no means experts, but we do have some measure of success. We've been doing this thing for 13 years, in the game strong, and we have two beautiful kids. They are 9 and 8 years old. And we have a new member of the family, a little doggy, who's four years old. So we've got some level of success, and we're just passionate and excited about sharing what we've learned on our journey in marriage and parenting. And so that's why we're excited and we're amped up about an opportunity to connect with you guys. So tell some friends. I know it's kind of late, but I know some people are still up on the internet. Get them here. Tell them to check us out and join us and join the discussion. It's good conversation, and we're going to get into some of this now. How you want to do this, baby?
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the things that you may need to bring into your bedroom that may not be there. And then we're also going to be talking about some things that you may have in there that you may need to get out. And all of this, again, is the goal of this is to create that sanctuary, to create that oasis, a place where you can go and have a sense of peace in the midst of chaos, in the midst of the busyness of life, because we all, no matter what you're doing, we all are facing that. So let's first talk about what we can bring into the bedroom.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, okay.
okay,
I'm
see,
focused. I'm focused now. I'm
see,
focused.
See what I got to deal with on a regular basis. But if you remember that picture that I sent and put on Instagram, the walls were bare. So one of the biggest things that we have is that you need to have pictures of your family, pictures of you and your spouse, and happy times. And the purpose of that is what?
So that you can basically reflect on your relationship. Because guess what? When you're together for some time, your relationship goes through different stages and changes. I'm not the same guy I was when I got married in 2004. We just celebrated 13 years a few days ago. So in 2004, I'm a different guy. She's a different lady than she was. We've evolved, we've changed, we've grown up, we've matured because we've done life together, and we've learned to serve one another. So we've evolved. So you look at that, and you want to look at your history. You always want to look at where you come from. Don't ever forget where you came from. And so when you look at these pictures, there'll be rough times and rough patches that you'll go through. And so I'll speak for me personally. There during some of the rough stages in my marriage when I was questioning everything, I basically, if it wasn't for going into a shoebox and finding some old pictures, or finding old hard drive that had a bunch of old pictures from vacations or when our kids were born, had it not been for those types of those artifacts being around, those pictures being around, I don't know if we'd be here. I use those things to remember the good times, and it gave me hope for better times, moving forward. And so just having a constant reminder of your relationship is key, is critical.
Yeah.
And that's what pictures do.
I echo the same sentiments. I mean, we went through a very difficult season in, our relationship, and contemplating, okay, is this it? Are we we're not making each other happy? Why are we, continuing down this road? And when you have those pictures, you remember those times. Oh man, remember when we went to Jamaica, or remember when we went to Tahiti? Oh, remember when we and the girls at Disney World? That brings back the good times, the happy times. When you don't have pictures up and you just have plain old walls, or pictures of a flower, or home interior, quote, home interior things that are not connected to you, it's very easy to continue to dwell on the negative parts, because that's human nature for us. We always pick apart, or criticize the negative, and don't always, praise the positive. And those pictures will jog your memory and make your mind go down a trail, and it may bring you back.
Yeah, and so you can easily forget what's good in your marriage. And there are some good things. You may have to look real hard. It may be dark right now. You may have to look really hard, but there are still some good things. And sometimes having pictures helps you remind you about those things rather. So that's one example of what you can bring into your bedroom. That's a good thing. Um, One thing you want to bring into your bedroom is a door that locks. All right, that sounds
This
crazy,
is his.
but you
This
want to
is
have a
not
door that
mine.
locks. We live in a house one time where, no joke, every door in our house had a lock that worked except our bedroom. It was not cool. It was not a good thing, and you guys use your imagination why that was a problem, especially with little ones running around. Once they start walking, it was an issue. She's like, "What's wrong? Don't let my kids come in." No, the kids need to be in their room because mom and daddy need to take care of things. And so it's critical that you guard your sanctuary. You gotta have locks that work. If the locks don't work, go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, whatever your store is. Get you some locks that work. If you gotta get a padlock, put a padlock on it.
Well,
Do
I
what you
know,
gotta do.
girl, that at church when we went to a thing, they actually had the hook lock that you have on the
And
old
ain't nothing
screen
wrong with
doors,
that.
and
I
she
don't
was
see
like,
nothing wrong. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
they had that on the door, and then the other one, like, okay, they had it timed. They were upstairs, and they were downstairs, and the kids were upstairs, and they knew how many minutes it would take. Once the baby woke up or whatever, they would always come down to the room, so they even had a timer. But if you have the locks, test them. Don't wait. Test them. See if they work. Ours locked, but you could push the door right open, and it was
Wasn't
like,
good.
that's not a
Was
good
not
look.
was not good at all.
Thankfully, nothing happened. That
No
didn't happen.
mishaps.
No mishaps occur. But to me, that was like frozen in time. Like, oh my goodness, I can't do anything, because what if this door opens? Like,
Right.
it was a total W downer.
But thank God we got a new house now. Everything's good. We left that house. We just left the whole house because the doorknob was locked. So we left the whole house, and so we're in a completely house with doors that lock. So thank you. Chairs. The pic. Somebody mentioned a picture in the chairs rather.
Yes, they did.
So the chairs was the other thing that we mentioned.
So that was a good one. That was very observant. She said that there was only one chair and there should have been two for the husband and the wife. Well, of course, what his response was?
You just need one chair. I don't see why you need two chairs. I mean,
Extracurricular
extracurricular
activities is
activities,
what he said.
silly rabbit games. I'm trying to use language in case your kids are around that we can all understand. You only need one chair. But no, seriously, if you have more than one chair, it's cool. If you're talking, but when you're not talking and you expressing
Right.
other
One chair
things,
might be
one
all
chair
that's
is all you need.
necessary.
But yeah, it'd be good to have two chairs in the room to sit around and just talk and read or pray, whatever you might do.
And the biggest thing for the chairs, as we say, is that if you're having some sort of disagreement or discussion, that not to have it sitting on the bed. Have
Hmm.
it. The primary thing is, if you don't have kids, this is the what we modeled out when we didn't have kids, is that you don't have any arguments, disagreements, or what have you inside the bedroom. Go into another place. This again is your sanctuary. This is your oasis. Whatever you bring in here, we don't want that resonating and lingering in here. This is supposed to be a place where you close the door. This is beautiful and wonderful. This is paradise. So an argument, a disagreement, going at it is not a place in a bedroom. Now, once you have kids, unfortunately, sometimes we do have disagreements
Yeah.
that are outside the bedroom, but sometimes when we're talking about things, even with maybe talking about our kids, how they're responding, how we're going to, deal with punishment or something like that with them, we need to go in our bedroom. So the chairs are good. Like if you're having that sort of discussion that can get heated or just, tense, not to do it actually on the bed, but have chairs, a bench, or something like that that you can actually sit on.
Yeah, you want to make sure the bed is a place that you associate with rest, you associate with relaxation and good thoughts, good times as much as possible. Life is real. Just being real, life will happen, and you won't be able to do that every time. But for the lion's share of your time together as a married couple, you want to make sure that your bed is a cool, safe place, neutral zone, so to speak. So that's good. Another thing you want to bring in is a forgiving attitude into your bedroom. It sounds crazy, um, but you don't want to have a lot of unforgiveness and bitterness, and there'll be times where you're working through stuff, but you want to try to push that aside if you're going through counseling or trying to deal with life and deal with some real issues. Um, Still keep your marriage bed in your bedroom a safe place. Don't discuss those things. If they can wait to counseling, and just make sure that you talk about life. You just enjoy some time where you're not dealing with all that stuff when you're in your bedroom, when you're in your space together. Again, you only have a few hours during in the evening or what have you with your spouse. Try to make the best of that time, no matter what you're going through, whether it's good times or bad times. All right, so forgiving attitude. And one of the things that I'm a stickler for, really, is when we've had disagreements. I won't go to bed. I can't go to bed mad. She can roll over and be fine. Me, nah, we gonna get this straight. And there was one time in particular. Your mom be sharing this with you.
I don't care
Okay.
what you
So
hear.
we were going through some. I don't even know what we were arguing about. We had a disagreement. She was hot, over there asleep, and I was not. All right. So she's in there all comfy, cozy, or whatever, lights off, or whatever. I come upstairs, and you know what? I was like, nah, we dealing. I'm not doing this because I ripped the covers off. I turned the light on, ripped the covers off over. She's like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? And I'm like, look, we gonna get this straight tonight. This is foolishness. This is crazy. Let's just hear each other out. Let's understand. Let's get this straight before we go to bed. And the reason that I say that is because what a wise man told me once: don't let the sun go down on your anger. I never really understood that until I got married. Because what happens in marriage, a lot of times you have an argument late at night or something, and you go to bed mad. You wake up, and that stuff is still on you. It's like residue. You still salty. You still mad or whatever, and it just affects the next day, and then the next day, and then just you look up, and the whole week is gone. And y'all just mad at each other. Nobody's talking. Nobody's dealt with anything. Nobody won. So that's just early on something we decided wasn't cool. We by force, I guess I decided let's do this thing. Let's really figure this thing out. Let's not go to bed mad at each other because it's just not a good look. It's not fun for anybody involved. And so we learn to talk about things and try to halfway get things straight. At least apologize, before you go to bed. If you've done something, even if you hadn't done something, try to apologize if you haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to bring in.
And in his defense, I mean, the way that, I was raised, my parents never had a civil discussion. It was slamming doors, yelling to the top of your lungs. You slam the door and you don't talk and you go on about your business. So when I'm ready to shut down, because this was like real early on in our relationship. This was probably maybe the
Before
first
kids,
year. This was
right?
before
Yeah.
kids. So within the first 3 years, we didn't have any kids. So in the first 3 years, this is kind of what happened. And so I was going into my mode of, okay, I'm going to sleep. I'm not talking no more. You getting the silent treatment. Like, we're not dealing with this. And so on his end, he's saying, oh no, we are going to talk about this. So, that's again coming together, the communication aspect. And we had to learn how to communicate the proper way. and he doesn't yank covers anymore and all of that. So we have grown, like we said before. So but just having that forgiving attitude is really important, and being able to say sorry, even though sometimes you may not be wrong. It might be your spouse that's still not wrong, but the point is that you're trying to create a connection, not to create that division before you go to bed. And we'll be having another talk webcast about dealing with that and saying sorry and how to work through that and communicate properly. But that is something that you want to bring into the bedroom, which was number 4, the forgiving attitude. Number 5, which I like, is the pillow talk. So, that's real old school. Like when our parents were young, that was an old school terminology. But I think it's really good to have in the bedroom, and really just talking, disconnecting from your phones, your laptops, and all of that, and just having pillow talk. Talk, you and him talking.
And this is not on the chair. This is on the bed. This is what
Yeah.
this is conversations you have actually on the pillows before that time, right before you go to sleep, instead of checking out your phone, check each other out, just check in with each other and see what's going on. This is the best time to do it right before you fall asleep. How great is that, to talk to your spouse and really, and it may be difficult for some of you. You may not have done that. You may not be good at expressing your emotions and your feelings, and that's real. We get it. But in a marriage, you got to try. You got to put forth an attempt, and the only way to be truly intimate is to be vulnerable first.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't make yourself vulnerable, you'll never be intimate with your spouse. Okay, and again, intimacy is not just a physical thing. Intimacy covers the entire person, spirit, soul, and body. So being intimate begins with vulnerability. And that pillow talk's a great time.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't have to talk about your relationship.
Okay, there we go.
Talk about your dreams. What do you guys want to do? What did what were your dreams when you first got married that y'all have forgotten about? Or what do you want to do for your kids? Or whatever. We talk about, we dream unlimited. If you didn't have money, was an issue, if time wasn't an issue, what would you be doing? What would you want to do? What would make you the happiest? Talk about those things, and that will draw you two closer together.
And of course, we're doing some talk about the whole person, so we want to talk about physical intimacy. That's Sex is important in a marriage, and so you want to make sure that you carve out time for that, because again, life will try to challenge that. Kids will challenge that. They will yank on that doorknob. But we talked about at that exact moment when you're trying to get things going. You got the chocolate covered strawberries going. You got the music flowing or whatever. And here comes a little knock on the doorknob. I'm scared, or whatever happens. So you got to do your best. You got to try to figure out how to make sure that happens, and don't always make that the scapegoat thing that you kind of push to the side. Oh, I'll get to it, because if you don't schedule it, a lot of times you won't do it. It just becomes another thing, and we got to work through that in order to be successful and to be.
So this point is, bringing in, what we're going to bring in is scheduled time for intimacy. And literally we have a scheduled day. And I don't know if any of you've ever watched Parenthood. That was like our favorite show. And we had our code. They had a code word for, that woohoo. It was called Funky Town. Yeah. So that's our word, Funky Town. He's always like, oh, you going to take me to Funky Town tonight? No, bro. It's not our day. Our day is Sunday. It's Thursday. Back up off of me.
They know.
So
everybody calling on Sunday.
Yeah, don't call us on Sunday, okay? We have Funky Town. Yeah. So anyway, that's something funny that you guys can do. Create your little code word, but actually scheduling it. What days of the week it is, regardless. And so you both know. There's no question. And even if you're not feeling it, you better psych yourself up, ladies. It may not be, too. And some guys too, but I mean, it's this time that this is it. This is what's going to happen, regardless of everything that's going on in your life. Because again, I can speak for myself, and because my husband is an awesome communicator, I know this. There's plenty of things we could be tired and exhausted, but if our kids ask us for something, we push through to do that one more thing for them, or we push through if somebody texts us or calls us.
You do something extra at work, you push through to try to get
you
it
push
done.
through to do that, But the biggest thing that people say, oh, I'm tired. No, I can't do it. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. So, when you say that time in and time out, again, it's really, you're creating rejection. You're creating, a disconnection with your spouse. So really, if you're not being intimate with one another like on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. I'm just going to put it out there. You're saying don't give time frames. Like, okay, we're not licensed counselors. You know, we're telling you what works for us, what we've learned through conferences, through counseling, through pastors, and we're sharing it with you. So
And
please
through
don't try to,
mistakes.
and through
Yeah.
mistakes. So don't try to sue us
Mm-hmm.
or anything, because you won't get too much. But what we're saying, if you're not having intimacy on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, then you need to get something on the schedule. You need to pick out what day has the least things going on, and that's going to be your day.
Yeah, and there may be some things, you know, everybody's at a different season. There may be some things you're going through. We get that. You may be going through a rough patch where that's like, you're like, oh, no, it's not happening at all. You know, forget that, you know. And, but you want to think, you want to start making sure that you don't take that completely off the table, because even, because check it out. You go through different seasons. I mentioned seasons or whatever. They're going to change, you know. Hopefully you're working through some things, but you want to make sure you're still there. Try to find a way to be there physically for each other. And even if it's not weekly or bi-weekly, if you can only scratch out a month or whatever once a month, that's a start. You know, that's
Yeah.
a start. Don't leave one another hanging, because that opens up a whole lot of more issues. No matter what you're working through, that opens up a lot more issues if you take that completely off the table in a marriage. And it's just a part that you got to kind of keep out there. Now, the foundation of all this, you know, of course, you can grow together emotionally and physically, but you got to make sure that you're growing together spiritually as well. So one of the things you need to bring into your room is Bible. We are Christians. We're believers. So that's just real. That's just real talk. That's who we are. That's what we believe. And so we believe that the Bible is our foundation. It gives us a standard to live by. And so it's good to have that. You know, maybe you got a Bible in your room. It's there. That's good. That's a start. Flip side of it, you need to flip that bad boy open it and read it together. You know, and if you never read the Bible or you haven't read it in a while, it's a good time to start with your spouse. You know, and maybe even find some other books that'll help. You know, couples. There are all kinds of couples devotional books out there that you can start this thing. But you got to grow together spiritually, and having that in your bedroom, bringing that in is the foundation to a successful marriage.
Awesome.
Okay.
I echo that. So let's, before we go on to what you need to take out, let's just quickly recap the things that you need to bring into your bedroom. So number one, you want to have pictures that reminds you of the good times, the reasons why you love that person, you went down that aisle and said I do. Number two is have doors that have working locks. Number three, you want to have chairs, because you don't want to have discussions or arguments or disagreements on the actual bed itself. You want to either have them in another room, or if you can't do that, have some sort of chair or somewhere that you can be seated off of your bed. You don't want to talk
Set of chairs.
instead of chairs.
Set of chairs. Two chairs.
Two chairs.
Yeah, two chairs.
Okay. You also want to bring in a forgiving attitude. Try not to let the sun go down being mad at one another, or going to bed being like, really, you can have an attitude, because I do have attitudes, but not to the point of don't talk to me, you disgust me, those types of things, but being able to get to a place of forgiveness and saying, okay, let's move forward. Another thing, number five, is pillow talk. You want to talk about your dreams, talk about fun things, talk about anything that will just put you at ease. And you do that pillow talk in the bed. So that's not in the chairs, that's in between the sheets. So laying on your pillow before you snuggling or spooning or whatever you like to do, just talk.
And compliment. And I was add to at that time, you know, during the pillow talk, that's a good time to compliment each other. You
Yeah.
know, no strings attached. You know, just to say good things about each other, because everybody likes to hear good things. A lot of people get tempted in situations because their spouse is just always negative. You know, we hear that a lot from couples that we deal with. You know, just my spouse is always negative. They're always telling me about what I don't do and this and that opens the door to a lot of temptation. So during pillow talk, you definitely want to make sure that you have some no strings attached compliments for one another, and to talk about, you know, at least one thing a night that you're like about your spouse, and let them hear it. Let them hear you say it. Let them, you know, just know that you're hype about them.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, as
you're
simple as
into them.
thank you. Thank you for going to work and coming home every day.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking care of us as a family,
Taking
making
care of the
sure,
kids. Yeah.
the bills are paid. Those types of things. They're not, these are just everyday things that sometimes we take for granted, because trust me, there are plenty of men that go to work every day and don't bring their checks home.
Yeah.
So if your husband is paying bills in your house and things of that nature, then you need to be thankful for that.
Yeah. And the same thing, if your wife is at home taking care of the kids or whatever, you know, thank her. You know, it's a hard job. You know, that's a really hard job. I've seen firsthand. My wife is, been fortunate enough to have an opportunity to do that. And it's just a tough job to be able to juggle kids all day long, for any period of time. It's tough. So you want to compliment them on that. So that's the pillow talk. And
Number
the
6,
6 was scheduled time.
schedule time for intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And number 7 is bringing that Bible in and actually using it. Mm-hmm. All right. So now let's go to what you need to take out of that bedroom that you may have in there.
Okay. Let's start with we're going to do this one last?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Or whatever you want to do, babe.
All right. Well, the thing that sparked all this conversation, we asked about what's missing from the picture. And so it was kind of a trick question, and I think 2 or 3 people got it. Mm-hmm. It was the TV. The TV was the thing that sparked the conversation, because way back when we were going through premarital counseling, we had a wise man tell us that you need to, in the first year, take the TV out of your bedroom. Make sure you don't have one in your bedroom your first year of your marriage. We're like, huh? And he broke it down and really spoke to the point that you need to be able to have a sanctuary. Some of the things we're talking about tonight was birthed out of that, came out of that conversation we had with him, because what happens with the TV, you just veg out. You check out and you veg out, and you're not communicating when you got TV on most of the time, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying TV's bad. That's that. Don't get me wrong. Some of these things we're saying, it's not bad. It has its moments, but you can't let that take you over your life. It's so easy to allow TV and allow someone else's entertainment to take over your life, mm-hmm. And with that, you don't know what you're kind of bringing into your marriage too, because you don't know what's
on TV, the negativity, even from the news. I mean, I don't even turn the TV on sometimes, because just the news, however many shootings and killings and this and that and the other, and it's just like, oh, so downing, depressing, and just so negative. Like, I can't take that energy on. Yeah. And so, that was one of the biggest things of taking that television out of your bedroom, of releasing that negativity. Again, we're focusing on making an oasis, a sanctuary, a place of paradise in this bedroom.
Yeah. And not to get too particular, but there was even a time we liked Scandal. We were kind of really into Scandal, into mm-hmm. that show. But as many of you know, sorry, Shonda Rhimes and, Kerry Washington, but this show has some things in it that are not conducive to a healthy marriage. Obviously, right. You're cheating on the spouse. They're just amplifying that, and you bringing that stuff in the house might be, a gateway to some things that you may be struggling with. Well, how did I get here? It could be your entertainment. It could be what you're allowing to come into your house. So having that TV out and not bringing some of that junk into your bedroom, into your sanctuary, is something that you really want to consider and really look at, and removing that TV. Even if you just do it for a couple weeks or something, starting out, it may be hard to do. So start out slow. Do a week, do 2 weeks. Say, hey, baby, we're just going to take this TV out and see what happens, and see if we can connect, see if we can get that fire going again. If you're in a rough place, or even if you're not, just drawing closer. You can never get too close to your spouse, right?
As they said, for us to do it for the first year, and we did it for over 12 years, almost 13 years. Mm-hmm. We did not have a television in our bedroom, and we never missed it. And I mean, it was difficult in the beginning because he has a television background. That's what his degree in. He worked in television news, producer, this and that. So to say you can't have a TV in your bedroom was just like, whoa. Okay, you're insane right now. Right. But we didn't miss it. Sometimes when we wanted to watch videos or movies or something, we would bring the laptop in. Mm-hmm. So it is possible. We did it. And we challenge you to try it and do it.
Yeah, I mean, go out if you got. Obviously, people have more than one television set anyway these days. Flat screens everywhere. Go to your living room. Go to another room and watch it. Just hang out on the couch and kick it on the couch and watch a movie, watch Netflix or whatever. But again, when you come into your room, it's man and woman. It's my boo, my bae, and me. Just talking, just connecting. Talking about a day. It's times that, man, I rush home, because I can't wait to tell my wife about something that happened I didn't get a chance to talk to her about. I wait for that pillow talk, and I find myself getting a little anxious, a little angry sometimes when we're dealing with things with the kids. Love my kids, don't get me wrong, love my kids, but it's times where I just want to connect with another adult. And her being a stay-at-home mom, she needs that time, and she expressed to me one time that I need to have adult conversation because she's dealing with kids all day. So that's the other thing. Your spouse could very well need to connect with an adult, especially if they're in a stay-at-home mom situation. So get the TV out so y'all can connect. That's just one of them, but that was the main one that we wanted to get at with the picture. So
yeah,
Keyborn, I see you, baby. I see you out there. Yeah, he got it right. So yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, he said it was missing. It was
Yeah,
missing,
yeah.
and that's a good thing. So if you have a TV, if you have a TV in your bedroom, then the objective is to get that thing out. We're talking about what we're taking out of the bedroom to make it more um, peaceful, our sanctuary, our oasis. All right. So the next thing that we need to get out of our bedroom is what?
Kids. All right.
Dun, dun,
First of all,
dun.
all right, kids gonna come in your bedroom. I know they gonna get scared. There's gonna be monsters in the closet. They're gonna be thirsty. They're gonna be sick. Get it? We get it. But these are all across the board. These are things you want to strive for. We know they're gonna be isolated incidences. Can't see the word tonight. Isolated moments where your kids are gonna need mom and daddy. That's just part of parenting. You know, don't have your kids crying, "Oh, dad, my leg," and their leg's broken, and you just, "No, I'm in my sanctuary." No, we're not doing that. That's not. We're not advocating irresponsible parenting. But we are saying you got to have focus, and there are going to be times where you got to put a boundary up and say, hey guys, this is our area. This is mom and dad's time. You know, it's as a parent, there are times when it gets difficult, where it's like, look, this is just something else going on here. You're okay. You've got water now. You're not dying. You're healthy. You got a roof over your head. It's time to go to bed. Mommy and daddy need some time just to be in our own skin. And so you got to really set that standard and that boundary. And, also.
I mean, we've even told our children, and our kids are 8 and 9. So just to give you a perspective of they are, young, they're not teenagers. And we're saying, okay, don't come in my room. No, we've been saying this to 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. Now they're 8 and 9, but there was a time like my one daughter, she would wake up at the crack of dawn and then come in and get into bed and go back to sleep. There was a point where you had to say
that one time? Go ahead.
that was her routine.
Yeah.
So, there was a point where we had to say, okay, you can't come in mommy and daddy's room before 7 a.m. And this is what the clock downstairs on the stove, when it says 7.00, then you can come in my room. If it's before that, you're going to have to figure out something else to do. And so, again, that's a boundary that we set with them, to kind of protect us and to give us that time that we may need.
Yeah, and also gave her an opportunity to figure out her own independence and not be so codependent on mom and daddy, because we were raising kids here to be responsible adults. And so also with the kids, one of the things I thought about too was toys. Stepping on Legos and stepping on kids' toys that get left right on your side of the bed or whatever, and you think those 4-letter words you think about, getting that stuff out. You gotta do that. You gotta have a safe place where it's just focused on adulthood and mom and daddy.
Yeah. Boundaries are definitely, definitely important. In your marriage, they're important. With your children, they're important. And we are planning on doing a whole series on boundaries, because that is, the pinnacle of any successful relationship and marriage is boundaries. Yeah. And I mean, we could talk for days on boundaries and all the stuff that we've learned. So, we put boundaries up for everything from church people to parents. You need to have boundaries for your parents. You got to have boundaries for one another. I can't go, but so far with him, he can't come so far for me. It's boundaries are really, really important.
And so, makes you have a healthy relationship.
Healthy relationship. So be checking us out for the series that we're going to be doing on boundaries.
And one thing, last note on children, we'll move on. But the kids, especially for you folks who have younger kids, that newborns and stuff like that, the bassinet has got to move. I hate to break it to you. The bassinet by the bedside is going to have to go at some point. All right? I know mama, especially the mamas out there, I know y'all don't want to hear that, but it's got to happen. You got to have a difficult conversation. And after that first year, it's time to start having a conversation. I know all the husbands are like, yeah, all the husbands are like, yes. But you got to have a conversation, because it can take over your life. And we've seen some really unhealthy stuff happen. We've, mentor a lot of different couples. And so we've seen some very difficult patterns that are established early on if you don't put that boundary in place. Right. Okay.
All right.
Keeping stuff out.
So the next thing we want to keep out is the laptop. So again, this is all with the electronic devices. If you work from home or have a business, a mompreneur, entrepreneur, business person, is that laptop. Because again, if you've got the TV out, then I don't have a TV, but then you're on your laptop. So you've defeated the purpose. So again, if you want to keep those things at a minimum in the bedroom.
Now, there'll be times, I remember early on in our marriage, we actually had our laptops in our bedroom. And again, these are rules. These are not rules that can't be ever broken or ever deviated from. These are just general rules of thumb that we want you to establish, because there'll be times where you need to bring your laptop in. I mentioned Netflix earlier, or if you're working on a project, we mentioned developing business. We have a few businesses that we've had over the years and still are very entrepreneurial. And so sometimes we'll have our laptops, we're working, connecting with you guys, preparing material for you guys. We do that for my bedroom. But again, the point there is we're doing it together and we're working towards a goal, a family plan, a family business that we're doing. And so there's still a level of connection. We're not checking out. We're not going over here and vegging out completely. Um, but you have the laptop there to work. And so we would have our laptops there just working on projects right in our bed. But when it was time to put it down, we put it down. We didn't let it take over.
Right.
Is the main thing here. Don't let anything just take over. So you want to kick those things out and really establish healthy patterns up. We mentioned the phone is the next thing. That's very similar to what we were talking about with the laptop. Um, your phone. This thing is a gateway to a whole lot of people, a whole lot of drama, and so you really want to be careful with that. I heard a couple the other day. We don't do this, but I heard a couple the other day mention that they charge their cell phone in another room. I thought it was kind of cool, because what happens, right before you go to bed, you got that phone, you're checking to see what's going on,
How many
and
likes you
how
got?
many likes you got. We're guilty as charged. And before you know, one person somewhere feeling some kind of way because he always on his phone. What's going on his phone? Or she's always checking, whatever. And
Yeah, or
so
you could be like, oh, we could have had Funky Town.
yeah, I mean, you
We
messing up
could have
funky
gotten
town,
busy. You
staying
don't.
at your phone.
Yeah, you stand at your phone. I could have handled my business, be done, and you up here looking at your phone.
Right. So you got to make sure that phone kind of has this, gets out of the way. And
There's
again,
also do not disturb. We got new
do not
phones. We got
disturb.
new iPhones, and I think they have like a do not disturb option or feature. I haven't used it yet. One of my friends was telling me about it. Or you could set a timer. Okay, after 11 p.m. or something, your phone doesn't go off, or you're not alerted, so that you're not distracted. So that's something that you could be talking that you could utilize. Um,
And I know some of y'all having panic attacks right now just thinking about being separated from your phone and not having it by your bedside. I know that seems totally foreign, totally
yeah,
off the
I'm
chain,
not on
but
subscribing to
it's
that.
good, and it's one of the things we did early on in our marriage, because back then, 13 years ago, cell phones weren't as
Yeah.
savvy as they are now. You didn't have all this stuff. We had flip phones back then. And so during the flip phone era,
The
it
razor.
was no issue. But we did a lot of good, cool things. We read some books together on how to be a better husband, how to be a better wife, how to, raise kids, parenting books. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Kindles, I'll say, are a good thing to bring in because you can read books. We had the same copy of a book, and we read it together, read a chapter, and we talked about the chapter during our pillow talk time.
Mm-hmm.
And we laid a fairly good foundation,
Yeah.
during early on in our marriage because we read a lot. During this time we're talking about in our sanctuary, we read a lot, and we were just kind of geeky, I guess, with the whole marriage thing.
Well, why don't we give them a couple of books? I mean, some of you
Yeah,
guys
that's a
may
good
be
idea.
thinking if you're, I'm taking the TV out. You told me to take my laptop. I'm disconnecting from the whole world. I'm not going to have anything to do. So some of the books that we read that were very powerful were Five Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. Covenant Marriage, also by Dr. Chapman, was a really good one.
Those are the first two that come to mind. I can't think anymore right now, but we can put together a list later and send you guys some stuff. But there are a lot of good books.
Issues.
Intimate Issues.
We
Yeah,
did that
was a good
one.
book.
Boundaries in Marriage by
Yep.
Henry Cloud and Townsend.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 4 books that we recommend that we read when we first got married, and even in our premarital stages. Those are books that we read to help us prepare, because again, if you're just joining us, we're Devon and Dana artists. We've been married for 13 years, and we have learned a lot of different things, and we want to share them with you. We both grew up in broken homes, so we did not see a model couple in front of us. So we had nothing to gauge, or we had no frame of reference of what a healthy relationship looked like. For me, like I stated before, it was fussing, arguing, slamming doors, and no one said sorry. People didn't say please and thank you, and so that was normal to me. And so I knew that wasn't really healthy.
Yeah. And I have examples. We both have fatherlessness in our backgrounds as well. So not having a biological father in our lives, that was a whole nother issue that we dealt with. And so we didn't have, like you said, we didn't have examples, but we knew this going into the marriage. And so we didn't just go on as if we had knew everything. We did what you guys are doing right now by joining in. We sought out people who were a little further up the road than we were, who had some measure of success in their marriages, and reading books and going to marriage conferences. We went to a marriage conference one time, right? A few months after we got married. We
Valentine's Day. We got
we got
married
married
in
in
June.
of one year, and then next year
In
in February we went to yeah.
And
So
people are like, "Oh, why are you guys are newlyweds?" People in our church were like, "Why are you here? You haven't had no problems in your marriage." But it's like, okay, you don't wait till your problems in your marriage to go to a marriage conference. Like I like your little analogy that you say about the insurance.
You don't wait to get fire insurance or flood insurance once there's a disaster happening and the house is on fire or it's underwater. You don't call the insurance man then. No, you get that policy. You do what? You pay it up. You sacrifice. You pay that thing every month to make sure that you're covered. So if something does jump off, you got some place to go. So that's what you do when you do things like this by joining, connections like this. And there are a lot of people online doing things similar to this. And there's such a demand, and such a need, and so we definitely want to pour into you guys the wisdom that we learn, because we don't want you to make the same mistakes. Right. We don't want your house to burn up. We don't want you to die in the fire of just trying to do life, because a lot of things we figured out that we went through, the difficult places that we were in, are just commonplace.
Right.
Everybody's going to have a struggle at some point in their marriage.
Everybody's going to have a financial issue. Crisis.
Things that are beyond your control. You're going to have them.
Yep, you're going to have, children issues. Your kids aren't going to act right. You try to teach them right, then they get out in the street and act crazy. How are you going to deal with that? So, these are all things that everyone goes through at some point in some season. And, if you allow it, if you're not, like he said, if you're not prepared and have a cushion, it could very well lead you down a road to, divorce or, something that's, not healthy. So this is an opportunity for you to, build up.
Right. To connect. You're going to check out. You're going to do what you saw your uncle do or what you saw your mother do. And that may not, if you're like me, some of the stuff you saw your family doing wasn't the right thing at all. And so by default, because if you haven't put anything else in there, you haven't paid your insurance policy premium, you don't have anything else to default to other than what you saw growing up. And so that we don't want to, this is where we talk about curses being broken and changing destinies. This is where changing legacies, this is where it comes in. You've got to do something. You got to do the work. You got to do something totally different than what you saw growing up in order to be successful in this thing called marriage. And that's brings us to the argument piece you mentioned.
Yes.
Arguments, and that's something you should keep out of your bedroom.
Yes.
Hands down, keep the arguments out of your bedroom. I know some of y'all are like, what? That's when we have our most heated arguments. Our best arguments have been in the bedroom. Yeah, we've been there. Guilty. We've done that, and we've learned that the hard way. Yeah. For one thing, I always bring to mind, I remember, based on some of our struggles and arguments that we had early on, is that when you're in bed or during that bedtime, you both are in the bed together, it's time for you to sleep. You're tired. And so just, as far as your body is concerned and your emotions are going to be at their worst when you're tired. When you're tired, when you're hungry, when you're stressed, not a good time to talk about stressful, deep emotional issues and things that you need to work out and have disagreements. That's not a good thing. Mm-hmm. You may want to say what? What's one of the things you mentioned earlier about you want to shelve this? Or
you shelve this. Let's talk about this. Let's pick this back up tomorrow. And actually communicating that, not just saying, okay, shut down, get in the bed, get under the covers, roll over, and don't say anything. That's not healthy either. But really being able to, close this, or if you've done that, say, like we said before, in the first segment, of just saying, okay, you talked about it out there in the living room or wherever, and you come to the bedroom, one person's not finished with it, and they come following you into the bedroom. It's like, no, you can't do that. This is supposed to be a sanctuary and oasis. You can't just run Rashad. This is a boundary. This is our oasis. When that door is closed, guess what? This is heaven. This is peace. Don't bring me that. I'm not discussing that with you. And then when they do come with you, you're allowed to say that. Okay, we're not discussing that. We'll discuss that tomorrow. And that person then has to own self-control. Mm-hmm. Keep your mouth closed. Go pray. Go do whatever you need to do. But it's not a time to discuss it.
And it's key. I like what you said. It's key to make sure that you establish that you are going to double back and talk about it. That you don't just dismiss it. And I'll say this as a man, even sometimes how you say things as a man and a woman is critical too. It could be like, we'll talk about this tomorrow. You make me sick. You're an idiot. that's that's not gonna go over well at all. I think the proverb says a soft answer turns away wrath in Proverbs, and so that's something that's key as well. So if you say something like, "Okay, baby, I'm really tired right now. Can we please talk about this tomorrow?" I'll be more than happy to try to fix this issue, but right now I'm really tired. I think I'm not gonna have a good conversation. Can we talk about this tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, if you come at it with that perspective, if you're able to gain that much self control and say it just like that, the party that really wants to ramp up and really wants to get in there and pull the covers off, they'll back down. They'll be like, okay, you're right. All right, let's put the covers back on. Let's turn the light off and let's go to sleep. So making sure that you keep the arguments out of the bedroom as much as possible. And we know these things will happen, but try to make sure that you're working together to keep those away from the bedroom because you don't want your marriage bed or your marriage bedroom to be a place that you associate with negativity. It should be the place that you run to. It should be your sanctuary. You should pray to God there. His presence should be there, and there should be peace. There should be just good feelings.
Right.
Good feelings there.
And I mean, the biggest thing I would say too, for the ladies and thinking about is especially, your husband is out in the workforce, he's doing things, there's a lot of different things that you may not be aware of that may be, he's dealing with, or other things that are coming at him. And, he just needs some time. And when he comes home or whatever, and he's not talking or whatever, it may be an opportunity that he just needs to go to the sanctuary, the bedroom, and just refresh and recuperate. You can't take it personal. You have to let him have that time. Because my husband and I have had different discussions of just things that have gone on in his job, and or people saying things or people doing things that aren't respectful,
Right.
and doing things under the table, just a lot of different stressors that go on at work, and sometimes men don't necessarily communicate that. So if they goes into the room and is quiet, give him that time. Give him an opportunity, because you want him to run home. You don't want him to run somewhere else, or take a detour and thinking of all the other excuses not to come home. This is where you want him to come when he's at his end, the end of his rope. He can't take it anymore. You want him to run home to you, into the place that you have established for you all, not somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean that's key for me as a man. Sometimes again, like you said, I'm going through something, and it may manifest itself in that in my facial expressions or something that she may perceive that I'm mad at her or it's an issue. But having this sanctuary time, having this time with your spouse is a time to get that all straight. She has a safe place to ask me when I'm finished processing through it. She knows by now, when and how to talk, how to communicate with me. But that's come through us having these conversations and making ourselves vulnerable. You gotta, again, as I mentioned earlier on, you have to make yourself vulnerable if you're going to be intimate with your spouse. If you're going to get to know them spiritually, physically, and emotionally. If you're going to know them in all three of those areas, all three of those facets, you have to humble yourself and make yourself vulnerable. You're gonna have to have conversations that just feel awkward. It was very awkward for me to have some conversations, or even to pray, with my wife, because single man, I was praying by myself and having this other person listening in. It was very difficult early on in our marriage for me to pray with her. But I could not pray with her, so I had to get over that and deal with that, and I grew into it. Because there was no problem. We'll jump in there and start praying any second now together, and it comes with time. So
Oh. All right, so I think we've covered that. So let's just do a quick recap for people that are just joining in, on what you want to keep out of your bedroom or take out of your bedroom. The first thing is the television. And the reason being that is the negativity that it can bring, just with the television shows and different things like that, as well as it just, it sucks away the opportunity for you to connect. If you can watch, the news for an hour, why can't you talk for an hour, or read a book like he mentioned, read a book together about a relationship, or have the pillow talk that we talked about in what you bring in. you know there's a lot of things that you could do other than watching television in your bedroom. We're not saying take the TVs out of your whole house, but we're saying take the TV out of the bedroom. The number two was children. You know, setting up boundaries for your children, keeping them at a minimum. If you have infants, keeping them out of your actual bed, having a bassinet, and then over a certain period of time, getting that bassinet transitioned out. Um, Another thing we said, number three, was laptops.
yeah, yeah, laptops are you can veg out, so you can easily veg out with the laptop. So make sure you put a boundary up there and keep that out of the bedroom as much as possible. If you can make a home office area, that's a great place to have it. We have a home office.
Mm-hmm.
Laptops obviously are portable. If you don't have a home office, go on the couch with it. But try to keep that business and the stressors, because again, laptops are associated with work and stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, we want to talk about creating a sanctuary. You want to go to a place that's similar. You used the analogy earlier, taking a trip to the island somewhere, just
Mm-hmm.
relaxing, just thinking about the good things. And yeah, so we have pictures in our room, just kind of a sidebar. We have pictures from when we actually were able to go to the islands. We took pictures and we have those blown up and put in our room, so it actually feels like
Mm-hmm.
a sanctuary. So that may be something you want to throw out there too, that you want to bring in. This is another one I just thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have some palm trees or coconuts or something that you want to bring in. Some island music. When you clap, do the clap and clap on, and the palm tree, get the reggae music comes on or something. Whatever you got to do to make your room feel like a sanctuary,
Mm-hmm.
you do it, even down to the decor. So.
Yeah. So the other thing, again, keeping on this electronics theme, is your cell phone. Just limiting your time with your cell phone and with social media. You're keeping up and down with what everybody else is doing on Facebook and Instagram, and who's where and what they're doing at
Family
this,
drama.
what they're doing at this minute or this hour, but you don't even know what your spouse is doing or what your spouse is going through. So it's a pretty sad situation when you know about what's going on in the streets, but you don't know about what's going on in your own home. So you want to really be conscious of that and really disconnecting from that phone and focusing on your spouse. um, and the last thing to keep out of your bedroom are the arguments. So keeping them at a minimum. And again, like we talked about, what you bring in. If you do need to have arguments and discussions because you have kids around, you bring those chairs in and you talk about your discussions in the chairs, not actually on your bed where you sleep. All right, so I think we've covered what you bring in and what you bring out. You got
Yeah.
anything else you want to add? You want to open up for questions, or
Yeah,
do
I
we
mean,
have
we can
much
feel free
time?
to